So today, welcome to the world of Wii U.
The Wii U had a horrible launch. Nintendo's advertising was confusing on what the thing actually was. Was it a peripheral for the original Wii? Was it a handheld version of the Wii? Nobody knew. The only thing everybody could agree on was we didn't like it. When the console launched, there were a lot of promises made that was going to make it better than the Wii, like more mature titles and better third-party support. But as hindsight can show us, that didn't last much past launch. My usual rule for consoles is 5 exclusives and I'm sold, and these were the 5 games that made me finally buy a Wii U, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. Except for this one, I'm not going to be talking about it because I already did a full video on it and it's much better on PC, so don't even bother buying the Wii U version. Now just a heads up, I'm not going to be doing a super in-depth review of these games because it's not a review of these games. Today we're going to be answering the age-old question, was the Wii U worth it? Star Fox Zero is what made me officially buy the Wii U. If you know me, then you know Star Fox is one of my absolute favorite gaming franchises. Star Fox 64 is one of my earliest gaming memories and I hold it very dear in my heart. It took me forever to get to the end, and when I finally beat it and it showed Andross still alive, my mind was blown. Now, I don't have time to go into what this game means to me right now, but just know that a lot of my identity as a gamer comes from Star Fox 64. And say what you will about the other games, I find them really enjoyable in their own ways. They had very fun character interactions with a continuing story with an evolving universe. Even Command has some great moments of character development and leaves the franchise on a very somber note. But guess what? That didn't sell shit! Guess what sold a lot? Star Fox 64! So what Star Fox Zero ends up being is a reimagining of a remake of the original Star Fox game. Nintendo handed the project off to Platinum Games, and they're known for bringing very dazzling experiences to life. Being Nintendo's first HD console, they make Star Fox Zero look pretty good. Nintendo's first and second party games always end up looking better than their third party games because they know the best ways to take advantage of the system. And this game is no exception. It looks like a faithful HD version of the Star Fox 64 aesthetic. This is what my 4-year-old mind saw as I was blasting through Corneria. But that's also something that I really don't like about this game. It relies so hard on your nostalgia for Star Fox 64 that it's just afraid to try anything new. It makes the Star Fox series feel stagnant. It does nothing that I haven't seen other games do better. But that's just my personal biases on the aesthetic aside. What about the actual gameplay? Now, I know a lot of you are probably waiting for me to shit on this thing, but a lot of it feels classic and natural, especially during the on-rails section. The gameplay feels much faster than previous games, and that is something that really works in making this stand out in the series. Controls feel responsive, and it feels like I'm jumping straight back into the series I love. Now that brings us to our little elephant in the room, this thing. The game has motion controls, specifically for the aiming feature. When the game's on rails, it honestly does help and feel natural. The gameplay can stay relatively the same, and moving the gamepad just lets you do precision aiming while still dodging. And with the press of a button, you can always snap the reticle right back in front of you. But when you go to all range mode, controlling this ship is just infuriating. Like, I get it, the gamepad is meant for precision, and in games like Splatoon, it works. But in that game, you can stand still or control your speed. Aiming feels natural, and if you don't like it, you can just turn it off. In Star Fox Zero, I can't aim while I'm controlling the ship. You can slow down, but the brake will still move you and doesn't last forever. And the camera doesn't work that well either. If you want to see it at its worst, look at the secret boss in Corneria. The EMP that damages your ship makes you need to look at the TV so you know when to pull back. But I also need to be looking at the gamepad in order to destroy its weak points because I have to precisely aim at it. And since the camera is locked on the boss, the control already feels weird, so I stay on the gamepad so it feels more natural. And since it's in all range mode, I still have threats from everywhere, and oh my God, this doesn't work at all! Fuck Star Fox Zero. I once died during what I thought was a cutscene. The camera was pulling back to give you some information, and in most games, that's usually it, but then I looked at the gamepad and realized that I was still in the fight. The game never stopped. With how close this game is from script to design, I just feel like I'm better off playing Star Fox 64. I could entirely get rid of this. Next.
Super Mario 3D World!
Every single Nintendo console has its own definitive Mario title. From the NES to the 3DS, they all have at least one must-play Mario experience. Sort of. The point of a new Mario game is to show off the capabilities of the console and have a new twist on gameplay. Sort of. See, the gameplay is essentially an HD version of Super Mario 3D Land, which is a fantastic game, honestly. I just didn't want to play the exact same game again. The game feels like a 3D version of the standard 2D Mario formula, and that is super fun. I love that power-ups actually feel like power-ups and how the game rewards you for being able to keep them. The inclusion of multiplayer is a great evolution of what 3D Land started, but it isn't enough to be a game changer the way the inclusion of FLUDD or Gravity did to evolve Super Mario 64. But again, it's still fun. The inclusion of multiple playable characters can be a nice change of pace, but there aren't any levels that are better suited to one character versus the other. There really isn't any strategy to who you pick. There are some stage gimmicks that use the gamepad, but these are so few and far between that I sometimes got confused when this kind of hazard came up, especially since I prefer playing this game on the Pro Controller. Something I love about the Wii U is the fact that you don't have to break the bank in order to play multiplayer. When it isn't forcing you into doing motion controls, the gamepad is a beautiful controller that feels natural in your hand. But the Pro Controller is a great substitution for a second player, but even though these can be kind of expensive, any Wii remote can work on the Wii U, and most games have support for it. Because of the backwards compatibility with the Wii and the price of the console, the Wii U is one of the best budget couch multiplayer experiences you can buy. So is Super Mario 3D World a good system seller? I'd say yes. It is fun, nostalgic, and a great party game. The only thing I can really say about this game in a negative light is that you shouldn't play it coming off the heels of Super Mario 3D Land. The two titles are so similar that when you play them back to back, you just get this sense of deja vu. Just like Mario, Zelda is one of the flagship series of Nintendo. Unlike Mario, Zelda tends to be where Nintendo puts most of their innovation in story, cutscene, art direction, and other things I like to see in games. But weirdly enough, the Zelda franchise on the Wii U was mostly dormant. We got 2 remasters of older games and a spin-off made by Koei Tecmo of Dynasty Warriors fame. Hyrule Warriors is the only original Zelda game the Wii U has, and it is much closer to a Dynasty Warriors game than it is a Zelda adventure. The story is a sort of fun Sonic Generation style narrative with our heroes traveling to moments of the past, mainly Ocarina, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. Or, all the ones with a normal art style that Koei Tecmo felt comfortable making at the time. So the plot is absolutely stupid, as all Dynasty Warrior games are, and if you're a Zelda fan, none of the plot twists are gonna surprise you in any way. But dumb plots aside, the cutscenes themselves are enjoyable to look at. It is pretty cinematic and very exciting. The thing I hate most of all is the lack of voice acting, which is honestly a little weird. Like, these are way too well animated and expressive to not have any voice acting.
Huh?
But to be fair, voice acting was never Dynasty Warrior's strong suit.
Feel the power of my magic!
There is a plethora of content that makes this game so replayable. The story mode missions vary the gameplay with specific missions and objectives to stop them from devolving into just a hack and slash fest. If you consider the story a Dynasty Warriors take on a Zelda game, then adventure mode can be seen as a Zelda take on the Dynasty Warriors formula, and it is so much fun. My good friend Red Shojin and I did a co-op let's play of the game, so I highly recommend checking it out if you want me to go more in depth on why I love this game so much. The game really does make you feel like this god of destruction in the Zelda universe. Every single one of your favorite Zelda characters gets a gigantic, bombastic, exaggerated moveset based on their appearances. It takes my favorite aspects of Zelda and my favorite aspects of Dynasty Warriors and makes a single fantastic game. This is one I would highly recommend. The Switch version has all of the DLC included along with Breath of the Wild content. And the 3DS version can do everything that the Wii U version can do? Next! Along with Mario and Zelda, every home console release has a Super Smash Bros. To accompany it, and this is a series I hold near and dear to my heart. Melee was so engaging and fast that you could finish 3 characters' adventure modes in about an hour or so, and everything would lead to something new. There was always a reason to keep playing. Brawl made the gameplay more accessible by simplifying movement and streamlining controls. It played much slower than Melee, but it was easier for newcomers to get used to. It had so much to do for both single player and co-op, and it had a full story mode. Smash Bros. For Wii U feels like a huge step backwards for the series. Gone is the good single-player support. We still have event matches, all-star, and even a revamped classic mode, but it feels so mundane, especially compared to the past. Unlike the last game, it doesn't feel like there's any real structure to classic mode, making it feel like I'm just doing bot matches that I could have set up in multiplayer mode. There's this Mario Party-ish minigame, but those only last 15 to 30 minutes each game, feels repetitive, and doesn't give me the want to continue replaying it. There's no feedback to if I'm doing well or terrible, and just feels confusing. There aren't any major unlocks linked to it, and it's more fun to set up a random smash rather than this random game. But to give credit where credit is due, at the time, this was the absolute pinnacle of the Smash Bros. Gameplay. It isn't as fast as Melee, but it isn't as slow as Brawl. It finds the perfect middle ground. I'm aware that I'm in the minority when I say that this game kind of felt lacking, but it's mostly because I play Smash as a single player experience, as weird as that sounds. I'm not going to go into all of my pet peeves in this video because I'm already working on a different video for Smash Bros. My main problem with the game comes from the fact that everything you do feels like it surrounds these things. Oh, not this one. This is an amiibo. Every gamepad has a built-in NFC reader, and these things can be used to unlock content in different games. Using one in Hyrule Warriors lets you get random items for each figure. Thanks, Fox. Star Fox Zero lets you unlock different types of R-Wings to switch up gameplay, and Smash 4 lets you raise and train characters like a virtual pet. You can even take your pet and train them on the 3DS version or your friends' games. You can tell that Smash 4 was built around these amiibo because everything you do unlocks something for your amiibo. Did you know Steve from Stranger Things is in a bunch of old amiibo commercials? That's Steve. That's Steve from Stranger Things. I'm gonna be honest with you, amiibo is really cool. These things are like DLC you can put on your shelf. So far though, and this goes for a lot of games on both the Wii U and Switch, they really don't do much. Sometimes they lead to something cool like an extra level, but usually it's just costumes and common pickups. But I would much rather that than locking behind content on them. Mario Party 10 locks behind a board game that is reminiscent of classic Mario Party, but the main problem with that is the price to play the game. The cost of one of these figures is around $13. If you want to play this game mode, you need 4 amiibo, but not any 4 because they are game specific. So for Mario Party 10, only my Waluigi, Yarn Yoshi, and 30th Anniversary Mario would work, but my Waluigi won't work for Smash 4 since he isn't a playable character in that game. And say I start using my 30th Anniversary Mario for Mario Party 10. The characters save data such as items and cosmetics, but this will mean that I can't use the figure for Smash 4. On the back of the game box, it will say if it has amiibo support and will also say if it's a read-only game or a read-write game. Most read-only games can use any amiibo, but those are the only ones that get you a quick unlock or power-up. Depending on the game, they can be either negligible or overpowered items that break early game. Read-write games are a bit more rare than their read-only counterparts, but tend to use the amiibo to a greater extent, such as training your own fighter in Smash 4 or in Mario Tennis? Alright. The AI will learn and grow from your fighting style. It's pretty awesome. Heck, a Fox amiibo almost won an entire Smash tournament. But because they save data, they can't be used for any other game. So this Mario amiibo can't be used to raise a fighter and a tennis player at the same time. And that includes any 3DS games, so any games on the 3DS that have a write feature also require another amiibo for that game. These things were Nintendo's answer to Skylanders, and despite everything I said, I honestly believe that these are the best toy-to-life experiences you can find. Despite my complaining, the fact that they do have multi-game functionality makes them an active part of your collection. People with the first Link figure for Smash 4 can still get use for them years later in Breath of the Wild, and since they can also be used for your Switch, you don't have to get a brand new collection to enhance your games like Skylander forces you to do. And that's the key word here. Enhance. Most of these games don't require the figures in any way. They are optional and make the game more fun, and you don't have to buy more figures to play a game you just bought. Because of the multi-generational use, amiibos are perfect gifts for any Nintendo fan. The Wii U, hands down, is one of the weirdest consoles that I own. It keeps the philosophies that always made Nintendo great. It's a unique concept that has games that just couldn't be done on other consoles. The idea of dual screen gaming is a fantastic one, but almost no game takes advantage of it. Games early in the console's life cycle tried to be these awesome and unique experiences, but it's a concept that no one wanted to spend the time to research and develop. Most of the games that end up being released on the Wii U make the gamepad feel like a nuisance. Stuff like 3D World and Color Splash randomly throw in gimmicks that intrude on the gameplay rather than streamline. It also pioneered what would go on to define the Nintendo Switch. Certain games will let you play on the TV and mirror on the gamepad, but the range is so spotty that you wouldn't be able to take it far. Mine usually doesn't even reach my bathroom, so it really isn't portable and is only good if you want to watch TV while playing games. But again, that's only certain games. I honestly feel like the Wii U had the potential to be one of the coolest consoles on the market, but what its legacy is going to be is how important it is to have strong third-party support. The problem the Wii U had is that unless it was a first-party title, no one tried. Nothing interesting was ever released, and if it did, it was a game that was already years old with nothing new really added to it. The Wii U failed for a myriad of reasons since its launch and just never recovered. And it's not all Nintendo's fault. Sure, the launch and early marketing was their fault, but then it was on the developers for dropping the console entirely rather than attempting to develop stuff that they could truly make stand out. It's even on us for not wanting to play anything out of the ordinary and sticking with the status quo, yet bitching about the status quo. It's a problem the original Wii had as well. Every console is more or less the same. Hand a PS4 player an Xbox One controller and they can adapt pretty quickly. But I can see how this thing is daunting with its touchscreen and motion controls. Why relearn how to play Call of Duty using the gamepad to aim when for the same price I can just play it the way I'm comfortable with on an Xbox or PS4? And I know that can be alleviated by just playing on the Pro controller, but that's an extra $40 to $60 you'd have to spend on a controller that doesn't work for every game. And since we don't care to relearn, why should developers spend the extra resources to develop on a console that has a different architecture than the other systems, on top of having to redevelop a lot of your games to make it work on this thing? Even if it's as simple as putting a map on it or implementing the slightest bit of motion control, it's still extra resources to go to programming, art, bug testing, and QA. At the end of the day, I can't say that the Wii U is a good console, but it is a great party console. The Wii U excels at couch multiplayer games. From platformers to fighters to party games, everything on the Wii U is at its best when you have a few friends and a few brews with you. I don't even touch this thing unless I have friends coming over because the majority of the games get so repetitive when you play them alone. If you constantly have friends over and are looking for new games, the Wii U could be a good investment for you. But that's about it. All of my needs as a gamer I was hoping to get out of the Wii U, I'm getting out of the Nintendo Switch. That's the console I recommend. I should probably do a video on you. And I just want to say thanks for watching this video. Do you agree with what I have to say about the Wii U? Do you disagree? Let me know down below. If you want to see more reviews, then click that playlist over there to see my other stupid opinions on movies and other video games. And if you want to see more, then please subscribe so that you're notified whenever I post a new video or do a live stream. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.